Hello, my name is David Scott Croy. I am reporting from the Park oil field. My dates of observation were the 26th through the 30th of January. My observations were taken at or before 0750 a.m. Alaska Standard Time. And the closest airport and National Weather Service station is the Park Airport, coded PAKU. Starting with the temperature graph on January 26, day 1. The temperature was negative 18.3 degrees Fahrenheit. Due to the lack of light in the morning, I had to wait until the midday to see the cloud cover. I observed a multi-level cloud cover with blowing snow along the ground, alto stratus at the mid-level, and cirrus clouds high above, marked by the thin, wispy nature of the high-level clouds. There was no precipitation. The wind speed was a 4 on the Beaufort scale out of the southwest, indicated by the flag at the fire station moving freely about. I could not see any optical phenomena in the area, but the dozens of hot steam stacks blowing white steam into the blue sky being whipped about by the wind is pretty interesting. Today was my first day of recording, so I do not have a max min temp. The National Weather Service temperature was negative 18 degrees Fahrenheit at 0755, which is comparable to my readings. Day 2. The current temp is negative 16.3 degrees Fahrenheit. Both left and right thermostats are very close in information they provided, as we see on the graph. The sky is completely obscured from the ground. There's a lot of blowing snow, causing visibility to be limited to about 200 feet. I could not see any precipitation. The wind speed was a 5 on the Beaufort scale out of the southwest, with gusts up to 35 miles per hour. You could barely see the flag at the firehouse whipping about. It was obscured by a ground sword moving snow across the ground. The wind chill was down to negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The max temp was negative 15.9 degrees. The minimum temp was negative 30.9. Comparing my temp readings with the National Weather Service for the day, my readings were a few degrees off from the National Weather Service, but the current temp was very close, and the max and min temps closely paralleled the National Weather Service readings. Day 3. The temperature reading is negative 12.9 degrees Fahrenheit from the left T-stat and negative 13.2 degrees from the right. This difference of temperature readings occurred today and on the last day of the readings. The ground storm has eased a little, and I'm able to see the sky with 1/4 of the sky covered with alto stratus clouds. There was no precipitation. The wind speed at the Beaufort scale was a 3 out of the southwest. The sky from the flag from the firehouse was extended, and the snow was moving freely about. I recorded negative 12.9 degrees Fahrenheit for the max and a negative 16.9 degrees Fahrenheit for the minimum. The National Weather Service was at a negative 17 degrees Fahrenheit, within a 0.10 of my readings. My max and min temps were still just on the outside of the National Weather Service. My max and min temps did not account for the slight bump in the late night of the 27th. And the temp has moved up a little higher than the first day of the reading on Monday to a slightly warmer temperature. Day 4. The sky was clear with no precipitation. The wind was down to a 2 on the Beaufort scale out of the southwest. I observed slight movement of snow on the ground, and the steam coming out of the stacks were slowly moving, and I could also feel the wind on my face. It was a nice, clear day with the sun low on the horizon with nice blue sky overhead. My current temperature was right in line with the National Weather Service. It also coincided with the daily low. However, my 24-hour minimum was slightly lower than the National Weather Service, and my max was in line with the earlier temperature provided. During my small period of observations, I see a pattern of a day either high or low within my max and min temps, but each hill and valley matches with the new day except the last day that I observed a rise in temperature. There's the 26th, there's the 27th, there's the 28th, 29th, and the 30th. Day 5. The cloud cover is overcast multi-level clouds covered 100% of the sky. No precipitation was observed. The wind was out of the southwest, and that direction was continuous throughout the 5-day period. The Beaufort scale is a 3, noted by the flag being extended and the snow moving across the ground. The maximum temp was negative 4.3 degrees. This was the same as my current temp for the day. The minimum was negative 27 degrees Fahrenheit. Today my left and right stats differed by 0.2 tenths. My low temp was slightly lower than the National Weather Service, while the max was spot on with the rise in temp that appears to be oddly continuing through the day. I do not agree with the rest of the chart because the slope did not get that warm. Okay, onto the pressure chart. On the first day I had a reading of 1017 millibars, which was slightly lower than the National Weather Service. It appears to be a start of a climb in my area's air pressure and a high moving in. My site and the Kapark Airport are very close together and only about 60 feet above sea level, so the offset to sea level should be very slight. Day 2, my reading matched the National Weather Service at 1022 millibars, an increase of 5 millibars. Day 3, the 28th, on this day we see a marked spike up from 1022 up to 1033, an increase of 11 millibars. On day 4, the pressure stroke lined up to 1037 millibars. It's slightly lower than the National Weather Service, and this is the peak of my week's pressure spike. Day 5, we observed a drop to 1027 millibars, a drop of 8 millibars. Okay, 26th of January, day 1. Here's my location. Today we see a mix of clouds over 50% in my area with a pressure reading of 1017. It seems to match up with the weather chart right here. Across the north of the state there's a band of high pressure from Siberia to the northern territories of Canada, all approximately the same latitude. Below that we see a stationary front from the Aleutians up to the southern part of the Yukon. The bottom part of the map we see a low to the southwest and a low in the east that appears to be a classic exotropical cyclone with a low in the middle, cold front below, and the warm front to the right. January 27th, my temperature ranged from negative 15 to negative 30 in the area over the past 24 hours with a pressure reading of 1022 millibars, which does match up with the TV weather map. The map also shows precipitation in the area, although none were observed by me at the time. 100% cloud cover matching the weather map. The high band still is present with 4 highs ranging from Japan to the Yukon. There is an occluded front in the waters south of Alaska powered by a low. And between the two is a stationary front from Anchorage into the east of Canada. There has to be some mixing of the air with the highs and lows because of the high winds in the area, with the high directly over my position right here. On this day there was gusts up to 35 miles an hour in the area. This was the strongest winds of the week during my observations. January 28th. A high is still directly overhead my position with some precipitation in the area to the east, but none was seen in my area during my observations. The cloud cover in the slide matched my observations with 1/4 of the sky covered with mid-level altostratus clouds. I also see on the map a mixture of gray and white coloring right here matching that description. My pressure reading was 1033 millibars, the second highest of the week, and this reading fits in between the two highs to the east and the west of Kapark. The highs again stretch east to west of the map, with an occluded front moving northeast powered by a low below the Alaska Peninsula. During the last couple of days, the high pressure systems have been moving northward until today. The northern half of the state is now under the same pressure system. January 29th, We have a single high in the area that's directly overhead my position. My readings were 1037 millibars with a temperature range from negative 13.3 degrees Fahrenheit to a negative 29.3 degrees Fahrenheit. The sky is clear with no precipitation. On the map, the pressure matches up with my readings. The wind has died down with no opposing winds in the area. The winds were light out of the southwest, powered by the high south of my location. The winds on the map were a mixture of gray and darker gray with no precipitation indicated in the area. Off to the far east, there is a low pressure pushing out a cold front. And to the southeast, there was another low with precipitation in the area blocked by a stationary front. Throughout the state, there's little precipitation seen here, with half the state under a high of 1040 millibars. January 30th, on this day I observed complete overcast with no precipitation in the area, and on the map it appears I am right between two areas of precipitation at 1028 millibars of pressure, and this is precisely what is shown on the map. The four high pressure systems are back in the area they started 5 days ago, keeping the area calm and covered in clouds. This day was my highest temp reading at negative 4.3 degrees Fahrenheit with light winds out of the southwest. The winds coincide with the high's counterclockwise motion. The last slide, the GOES images. The satellite images correspond to my pressure readings and precipitation and cloud cover very closely. In the visible image, my location was cut off of the top of the map, but what I can see appears to be patchy in the area. My observations has reported a 50% cloud cover right up there. On the 26th, there was a multi-layer cloud cover from the ground level to mid-level to a layer of cirrus clouds. They were not covering the sky with a full thickness. And the infrared area is not pure white with cold tall clouds, but a mixture of gray and dingy gray, so I believe it did show spotty, mostly lower level clouds. And finally, the water vapor satellite image. At the time of my readings, it was 50% RH, and I can see the upper part of Alaska has part of the water vapor, has half of the water vapor of the bright clouds to the south here, and the bands of water in the clouds near Fairbanks right here. And that's my report. Thank you.